Hey, what's up? Just gonna do a quick video on the worst thing that you could do when it comes to your life in Christ. I guess you could call it that. And specifically, I'm gonna be approaching this from a financial perspective, but you really could apply this really to anything, and it has to do with um, the the sin of inactivity. I think many times we get arrested with all the different thoughts that are out there. You know, for every 10 guys telling you to invest in crypto, you have 10 guys telling you not to invest in crypto. For every 10 guys you have saying take the traditional route to become a millionaire, just that old school approach of, wait 40 years, retire at 65, and you have, just that compounding interest and things of that nature. You have 10 guys saying, no, don't do that. You don't want to wait to live your life until you're 65. And you can do this for anything: buying a house, not buying a house, um, looking at ADUs, not getting ADUs, taking out a HELOC, not getting a HELOC, right? And sometimes this can really become arresting in the sense of we feel so constrained by all these opinions, all these thoughts, that we use it as a justification on why we don't do anything. We use it as a means to say something to the effect of, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to save my money, and I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to invest. I'm not going to learn. It's just too much. It's too much." And then we become slothfully uh, slothful stewards over what God has entrusted to us. Again, that's specific to finances and investing, but I think the same is true in Christianity. The same is true in fitness. The same is true in entrepreneurship. And I mean, we can say, okay, in fitness, for every 5 guys saying, "Hey, carnivore," you have 5 guys saying carnivore is bad. Intermittent fasting or not fasting. Um, what type of workouts, hit versus non-hit, cold plunge, no cold plunge, right? And I think it's good to have an overall position on what we believe and what we think, to do research, absolutely. But I think sometimes curating through all that information is very, very difficult. And rather than saying, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing to be true, people, especially in our day and age, because we don't have like hey, here's the answer, here's a fix it, here's how you do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, it's all done for you. I think we just tend to use it as a means to cop out of the situation because it's all too confusing and so forth. And again, when you look at the parable of the talents, the one who did nothing with his talent except buried in the ground, that's the only one that gets judged harshly, right? It's like the wicked servant who's going to be cast out by the master. And so, in Christ, even losing is not losing in Christ. The only way you could truly lose in Christ is if you do nothing. Because even when you take a risk, as it were, even when you go out and you try to level up, when you go out and try to work out, when you go out and try to whatever, right? It's the very fact of you walking in obedience, you walking as a good steward, you trying to do something with that which has been entrusted to you. That in and of itself is really the hard work. That in and of itself is, as it were, the very thing that we need to be doing. And God tends to take those crooked approaches and make straight lines out of them, because in reality is like, who knows the absolute perfect 10 out of 10 best way to work out, to eat, to invest, right, to start a business and all these things. I think at best, because we're finite and we're limited in our knowledge, uh, you know anyone who's truly an expert in something doesn't ever truly have exhaustive knowledge over that thing, uh, because life doesn't work that way, right? You can't really consider all the variables. At times, it's what is popular for one season. It's getting pushed by all these influencers, and the next season it's not popular anymore. So at best, we're all operating with the finite knowledge. And rather than using that finite knowledge as an excuse to not do something, what I'm arguing for is do something, right? The sin of inactivity, the sin of omission, the sin of burying your talent in the sand must be repented of. And what I'm saying is specific here, I guess, to finances, but to anything else, just do something. Just stick to your conviction and do something. This is how you get guys who might not be experts in their field, and yet they're losing weight. And perhaps to someone who's not of the same mindset, should still say something to the effect of, "Hey, I wouldn't have done it that way, but it's working," right? Whether it be, again, the best way to work out. I'm telling you, like, what people can disagree on, they will disagree about it, right? It's always going to be the case, right? We're always going to have dissenting views on everything. What I'm saying is, just don't use that as a reason to not get involved. Don't use that as a reason to not establish yourself in the game, whatever that game might be. The worst thing you could do is to be inactive as a steward that God has entrusted you with, as you in this world, has you in this world as a steward for Him, right? Managing, as it were, your own life in this household and your own life in the household of God. You have to get involved. You have to expose yourself to whatever it is. You have to get your feet going, as it were. You have to be willing to fight. You got to get in that ring. You have to throw punches. You have to do something, right? Just standing there doing nothing and getting beat up by life is not an option. We see how that went for that man, that wicked servant, in the parable of the talents. And I'm saying, don't fall for that trap. And don't let the confusing nature of all the information be a sinful excuse on why you don't get involved. Pick your lane, do research, talk to people, consult people, discuss it among many brothers. Like that proverb says, where there's many counselors, there's much wisdom. Find brothers you trust. Find people who are wiser than you. Find people who are in better shape than you, or find people who are in a better financial position than you. Do whatever it takes, but don't let it become a source of pride and saying, "I'm not going to ask for help," or a sense of laziness and saying, "It's just too much information for me to curate through." And again, this is why brotherhoods are so essential. Why things like wartime saints, I hope, really take shape. That way we can have more wisdom, we can have more viewpoints, we can have more thoughts, and help each other sort through the fluff and actually just get that which sticks. The worst thing you could do is to stay on the sidelines. The worst thing you could do is to be inactive as a steward of which God has placed you in this world. The worst thing you could do is bury your talent in the sand.